There was also the interesting aspect of ELF, VLF. Andy said, do I believe in weather control? Actually, yeah. In fact, I have Brzezinski's other book here, Between Two Ages, and he wrote this back in 1973. Again, Brzezinski is who created Al Qaeda. Okay, so under Robert Gates and Jimmy Carter back in 1979, they recruited the Mujahideen. Right, he created Al Qaeda. That's who would eventually become Al Qaeda to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan. So this is not some nobody. This is, again, the guy who wrote Grand Chessboard, which talks about the need for a 9/11 style event, just like the PNAC documents did. Well, Brzezinski's 1973 book talks about controlling the weather through ELF and VLF. And this is on page 57. So anybody who doubts that this kind of stuff exists just don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because here's his footnote right here talking about how this will be prevalent in our day. So this is actually a futurist text. This text was written about the time period we live now. Brzezinski's saying back in 73, here's what I see as a technocrat, the world being like in 2018. And it includes weather control. It also includes mass depopulation. He's a big fan of that.
But that's one thing just for...
Yeah.
How would they control? I know we have crazy technology now, but how would they control like weather?
Well, it's not like it's completely controlled. It's more so like steering or influencing. And then actually quite a lot can be done at times to like hype up or energize or create storms. So for example, if you want a proof of this, I have a long essay I wrote about it. You can find it at Jay's Analysis about geoengineering. So the idea goes back to even the World War II and Vietnam period, where they did cloud seeding. So cloud seeding just helps cause rainstorms, right? Especially over like dry areas. And the way that this relates to weather control in a more serious sense is kind of blasting the ionosphere. So HAARP is real. HAARP does this. You can go to Navy.mil. They have papers about plasma clouds and HAARP. It's all public. So it shouldn't even, to me, it's odd that people think that this isn't real. There's all these published papers on it. It's a public thing. You can go to the Stanford VLF group. Stanford University has a whole page about weather control. They have a whole department dedicated to it. And yet people are going to say that this doesn't exist. They just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But I have to deal with this all the time. So,
holy shit. What about floods?
Yeah. Insofar as rain is often related to flooding, yeah, you could include flooding there. In fact, actually, you're right. That was what was in Vietnam. They really tested out a lot of this weather control in terms of flooding, and that was to flood the Viet Cong. So yes.
What the fuck? That's how is this like not being talked about by like, let's say, mainstream like media and
It's funny because the mainstream media, they'll put out articles every now and then talking about what if we did this one day. Like there's a bunch of articles at the Guardian about it. The Guardian has whole write-ups about Bill Gates being involved in these kinds of projects, but it's always phrased as if it's not actually being done. No, they're already doing it. The Royal Society, Stanford VLF, they have published papers on all of this stuff. Navy.mil has published papers on HAARP. HAARP has been going for decades. HAARP is actually old technology. So it's just people just don't know this. There is a movie on it, though. You can watch that stupid, goofy 90s movie, The Avengers. It's not related to the Avengers Marvel world, but The Avengers with Sean Connery and Uma Thurman. And it's all about this very topic.
God, this is fucking fascinating. If I want to step into,
you get more truth in movies than you do in the news, man. That's my whole thesis.
Really?
In a sense, not literally, but yeah, in a sense.
Yeah, almost like the news will choose what they want to tell people.
Yeah, right.
And movies is sort of like hint, you know, sort of like
but hinting at things that are more real and more forward-looking than what you would get in news. I mean, the news is like dated anyway. But what you see in something like Minority Report or weather control that you see, even in something ridiculous like the 1998 Avengers movie, or Kingsman, right? Because Kingsman has the ELF VLF frequency manipulation that the Samuel L. Jackson character engages in.
God, because I've heard of the weather controlling, people controlling the weather. I've heard of this. Never really looked deep into it. I didn't think. I mean, I always thought it's possible, but how much is it being used? Do you think it's being used a lot? So
yeah, absolutely.
There's like 9 dudes in a room. Like, all right, yo, make it rain there so it floods. Is that what it's being used for? Is to, and by the way, just real fast, there's no message on this, but Cody Trinter threw $50 to the show. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate all that, the support for the show. And we will keep reading super chats in a bit, but yeah, sorry, go ahead. What would, how often is it being used, and for what purpose is it being used?
Right. Well, like I said, HAARP is like decades old, so they've already kind of declassified that because it's the older technology. So I don't know that any of us in the public sphere really know how often or how much this is going on. We can only kind of go by little hints and traces. There was an Air Force paper that was put out controlling the weather a few years ago. That's a good source on this. You can Google that. It's a public paper. There's a documentary put out by an Italian documentary on this. It's really good. That uses a lot of source material called something like Chemtrails. What are they spraying? I can't remember the exact title of that, but it's a really well done documentary. You can find it on YouTube. It's had 200,000 views. But, you know, as for source material, again, there's UN treaties about weather warfare from like the 70s. So I don't. It's hard to say how much is going on presently, but I would say that that the weather is very widely manipulated. Now, does that mean that I'm saying every earthquake is caused? No, I don't. I'm not. That would be ridiculous. But the weather is manipulated. Absolutely.
That's insane. By the way, Cody Trinter threw another $25 with no message again, dude. Cody.
Oh, that reminds me.
Appreciate that.
So one of the fathers of the Manhattan Project is Edward Teller.
Okay.
He's known for being one of the fathers of the bomb and all this stuff. Well, he's also the father of geoengineering. So the father of geoengineering, who was also one of the founders of DARPA before it became DARPA, he is a pioneer in this project in Vietnam about Agent Orange. And so what they were doing in Vietnam wasn't just manipulating the weather. They were also spraying biological weapons on the Viet Cong to test what would happen to the foliage. It was called defoliation. That was a real Vietnam project. So this has been going on for a long time. People just don't know this. So that's why it's like sounds so crazy when you talk about it. But you can find all this information pretty easily.
That's unbelievable, dude. That's insane. That's cool. I mean, it doesn't, like, I say unbelievable. It's just because it's just like, holy shit. Because, you know, most people going along their daily routine, you know, don't think about this shit. You know, a lot of people will just go, no, that's not true. That's not real. That's, and I mean, it's unbelievable when we like really sit back and go, like, do you think that there's like, what, 6 guys who know everything? Like, you know what I mean?
I would say, yeah, at the top of, towards the top of the pyramid, you do have people that pretty much have a total outlay of the whole system. And some of the big time brain type thinkers know all this stuff. They write about it. So I would say, yeah, I mean, people like Brzezinski, people like Kissinger, they're definitely up there towards that committee of 5 or 6 that you're talking about. I mean, I don't know if it's literally 6 people, but absolutely.
Yeah. But okay, but for those people who have exposed certain things, right? Who have, you know, said things that certain people might not want out there, wouldn't they be assassinated or would it be too obvious? Like, he said this and now he's like ends up dead. Like, do you think that these people have a target on their back? Are there people trying to assassinate them, or is the government just going, people are not going to believe this shit anyway, so who cares?
Both. I mean, it depends on the situation. Gary Webb, famous whistleblower, he talked about the Iran-Contra and the government running CIA running cocaine. He didn't make it. So Gary Webb was quite clearly assassinated. So yeah, whistleblowers get killed all the time. But at the same time, it's also kind of true that a lot of whistleblowers they don't even care about, because like right now, there's people who were whistleblowers about the Franklin cover-up, whistleblowers about Savile and all that kind of stuff in the UK, and sometimes they don't even care, because if the culture is degraded far enough, it's not like if you just tell enough people that the masses are going to somehow like change the system.